All right, hi everyone. Believe in Bills. Adam Benigni and Sal Maiorana following a 31-7 preseason win down in Cleveland for the Buffalo Bills over the Cleveland Browns. Again, this Believe in Bills presented by FanDuel. And Sal back with us off midweek for all of the right reasons. You are now a
Sure was.
grandfather, my friend. You're a great.
I
Congratulations to
am
you and your family. Uh, Lawrence, correct?
Lawrence Hall the third, little boy, 7 pounds, right on the nose, which means that's Mickey Mantle's number. So already a good start to his very young life. Only 18 and a half inches long, so he's short like me. So hopefully he can grow into that body and become a superstar or something. But yeah, everything went great. Great delivery. She did well, my daughter. Everyone's bouncing back, happy, healthy, and yeah. So here we go. I'm a grandfather, and I look like a grandfather, don't I? With all this gray hair, it's about time I get a grandfather or get a
You
grandson.
do. You look esteemed.
Esteemed,
That's, I
yeah.
would say. And of
Okay,
course,
that's one way to put it.
um, and that gray hair from all the lousy football you've covered through the years, too.
Yeah,
Um,
that probably was part of it. You're right.
Although it may have, the last decade or so has been something different, and
Yeah,
it appears to be on a good course here. A 31-7 win again. I never read too much in to these preseason games, especially ones following a joint practice where the starters got the reps in controlled conditions earlier this week. Did a lot of good things. Kincaid was terrific. One of the storylines we had talked about and one we covered with Jay Skursky of the Buffalo News, who had filled in for you. So, today, most of the starters not playing in this game. Obviously, the left guard situation, that's a little bit different. So it's harder to take too much from it. But I will say this: 2 preseason games in now. Again, this goes back to Joe Brady. Whatever his program is, right? It seems to be formed and kind of set in place early on here, to the point that it's translating to results on the field regardless of the circumstances.
yeah. I mean, look, he's a rookie head coach, right? The youngest head coach in the league. I think he has come in with a purpose in this preseason. He needs to kind of establish a culture and identity. Sean McDermott, veteran coach, they kind of sleepwalked through the preseason, especially these last few years, obviously, when Josh Allen became a superstar and there was no need to play really any of the starters. So I think Joe Brady realizes first year, I've got to come in, make a statement, show that I'm ready for this, and make sure my team's ready to go, even if it's a meaningless preseason game. I say meaningless. They're not meaningless. They are meaningful for a lot of guys on the roster. So I think I like that. I like the fact that they've sort of taken the game seriously. I mean, it hasn't been total vanilla on offense and defense. They've unpacked a few things that have been kind of fun to watch. So I'm impressed. I'm impressed by what I've seen. Again, in the end, nobody cares about the preseason except the bottom of the roster, but good for the Bills that they've won these first 2 games, and they've done it pretty impressively.
Well, one of the questions, that you were covering over in training camp, and a storyline that's continued through the course of the preseason, is backup quarterback, right? Heaven forbid that something happened to Josh Allen where he has to miss an extended period of time. Has your impression of Kyle Allen changed a little bit with this performance? What, 10 of 12, 128 yards, and a touchdown in this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's for that now. The 2 games, it's 24 of 28 for 236. He's led 3 scoring drives. It would have been 4, but Bass missed a field goal last week. So yeah, he's looked good. I mean, again, Adam, they can't lose Josh Allen. I still do not trust Kyle Allen to be able to go in there and win games for the Bills, especially if it was long term. I still feel better if they had Mitch Trubisky here, but Allen has. I think he's calmed some of the fears in the fan base. He has looked pretty good. Now, remember, he's not playing with the Bills starters either. So we can say, yeah, he's just going against backups, but he's operating with Buffalo's backups. So it is kind of an even playing field. And he's looked good. He's made some good throws. I mean, 24 28, and they haven't all been dink and dunk. He's thrown the ball down the field. So yeah, I like what I've seen. I would venture to say that he has probably locked it up now. Bouchel has been fine. Bouchel certainly hasn't stunk when he's come in today. He had a 71-yard touchdown. So he's done well too. But I think it's kind of clear that Kyle Allen will be the number 2 and Bouchel will be back on the practice squad.
Anything else you saw today? They did some good things in the passing game, I thought. Um, again, it's slightly more than vanilla, as you said. But as you look down the depth chart at receiver and some of the players they have, I mean, there is some depth on this team and some talent, and that's becoming
Yeah.
increasingly obvious as the preseason moves on.
Look, one of the biggest decisions that they're going to have to make is at wide receiver, right? I mean, we've got the first four figured out very obviously, right? It's going to be Moore, Shakir, Palmer, and Coleman, and then after that, whether they keep five or six is going to be a very, very difficult decision. I think Sherfield is going to make the team because he's a core special teamer. And today, 4 catches for 54 yards with Kyle Allen as the quarterback.
Yeah.
He played well. And again, he's a core special teamer. So I think he finds his way to the roster, Adam. And then, we haven't seen a thing from Skyward Bell. So they're not going to cut a 4th-round pick, and they can't really stash him on the practice squad because he'll probably get picked up. So you got to figure he's making the team. So if Sherfield's making the team and you think Bell's going to make it, they got some decisions to make here because some guys have played, pretty well. What are you going to do with McCole Hardman, who has returned punts for them, scored a touchdown today? Dante Pettis didn't play at all, but also a receiver who can return punts. What do you do with him? Gosnell, I don't think Gosnell makes the team, but he made a case for himself with a couple nice plays. And then this Jamori Macklin,
Yeah.
he had 2 big plays today. One at the end of each half, and one of them goes for a 78-yard or 71-yard touchdown. I think he's a practice squad guy, but they've got bottom of the depth chart roster or wide receiver decisions that are going to be very, very tough to make.
Let's jump back to the top of the depth chart for a second. Anything more at left guard that you can glean from where that battle stands or whatever? Obviously, they're getting more reps than the other starters are concerned, which means open competition there.
Yeah, I think. Look, I can't make a determination. Brandon Bean couldn't make it after the game last week. He said it's still neck and neck. Nothing changed today. I mean, I think Alec Anderson played the first 2 series, and then Corbett replaced him. I didn't really keep track of how many he played. It was probably 2, to be fair. Or maybe he finished the first half. I don't even know how the possessions went, but that's what it was. Anderson has started both games, so I feel like he's got the leg up. We'll see on Thursday. If he starts for a 3rd game in a row Thursday, then maybe they've already made the decision. But I do think that the loser of that battle is still making the team, Adam. I mean, they're going to keep both of those guys.
Yeah, right.
I think the big decision they're going to have to make is what do they do with Cedric Van Pran Granger, who – Cushenberry sat out today. He's been the backup to Connor McGovern, and he sat out. So he got the vet treatment. Looks like he's making the team. Van Pran Granger, I don't know. He just has not done anything for 2 years for the Bills. He'll probably end up on the practice squad, but there's a guy that if they cut him, there's a chance he could go somewhere else. They could lose him because he does have the versatility to play the 3 interiors. So that's a tough decision they'll make, but I think Cushenberry is going to be the backup center there.
Let's switch gears and talk defense. And, I felt like the Cleveland quarterbacks had too much time in this game.
Yeah. Oh, early in the game, for sure. Shedeur Sanders, when the better players were in there. I mean, because, the guys who started for the Bills in this game are going to be playing a lot, right? TJ Sanders, Landon Jackson started this game. Those are going to be rotation guys in this defense. So the fact that they were on the field and really couldn't get much of anything going in the pass rush was a little disappointing. I think in the second half, I kind of stopped paying attention because, it just a lot of guys in there, a lot of guys who are going to be on the practice squad. But early on, no pass rush, maybe concerning, but let's also remember too, Adam, Chubb didn't play, Russo, Ed Oliver, all the studs didn't play today. So I'm not going to make too many judgments on that. One guy who did stand out though, and he needed to stand out, was Dwayne Carter. Carter had a good game. I think last I checked, he had 3 tackles, 1 for loss, and he had that tipped pass, the 4th down Deshaun Watson miss. It was actually tipped at the line by Carter. They signed Greg Gaines earlier in the week, who's a veteran guy with 108 games, has won a Super Bowl ring, fits this defense perfectly as a nose tackle. That was an indication to me that they're leery about Dwayne Carter. and he needed to have a good game, and he had it. So we'll see where that goes. I liked the Gaines signing, though. We'll see. He's coming off the couch in late August here. Let's see if he has anything. But I kind of like that player as a fit in this defense. So we'll see what that means for Dwayne Carter.
They also had some game in the secondary today, too, I thought, coming up with a couple of interceptions.
Yeah, Corey Couch made a great play. That was a tough pick because I think it was actually off the receiver's hands, and they were kind of in close contact. So great reaction by him. And then Buffalo Joe had the tip that resulted in DeMar Hamlin's pick. So good day for the defense. It was a bad first series. I mean, Shedeur Sanders, answered Buffalo's touchdown, went right down the field, so that wasn't great. But they never scored again. So that was a pretty good job by Buffalo's defense to bounce back again. Reserves on reserves, but it was good. Buffalo just proved it's such a deeper team than Cleveland right now. There's just no doubt that the Browns aren't in the same league with the Bills, and that was pretty clear today.
Special teams. Tyler Bass has been a cause for some concern. A lot of questions. Missing last season with that pelvic injury. Was good today. Kind of, brought it just inside that left upright a couple of times, but how concerned are you about him?
I wouldn't say I'm concerned, Adam, but look, I just don't feel super confident, and I haven't for a couple of years really. When Bass goes on the field to kick, he just doesn't give you that sense of, the guy in Dallas or the guy in Jacksonville or the guy in Kansas City who, when they go on the field, it's going to be 3-point. It doesn't matter where the ball is. Bass, it feels like every kick you squeeze a little bit. And even on the field goal today, that ball was headed right to the upright the whole way. It just snuck in by about the width of the football. But he made it, and he made all 4 of his extra points. So good day. He had missed 2 in the practice, which that's live drills. So to go 4 of 6 wasn't great. And his misses were, I think 35 and 45 I saw. So those are kicks that NFL kickers need to make. So we'll see on him. I'm not overly concerned. And I just hope that once the season starts, the bell rings, he's ready to go. He's clearly healthy. I mean, you saw Tim Graham's story, who got a one-on-one with him, and he said he is completely healthy, no mental issues. It's all about mechanics right now. And he's pretty confident he'll get it straightened out. So that's probably a good sign for the Bills.
Yeah, it is a good sign. And again, an area that there were some significant questions about with him coming back. So as you look toward, Thursday, that preseason finale.
Well, let's talk about, since we're on special teams, let's talk about Ray Davis. Because I think that is a big deal for the Bills. If he can lock down the punt return job, Adam, that opens a roster spot. Because now you probably don't need to keep Mecole Hardman or Dante Pettis, the other guys that are in that role, I think, or at least trying out for that role. If Davis can do that job and be a 3-way player, right? He's the kickoff returner, the punt returner, and the backup running back. Now you've got a spot for somebody else. And like I said, the Bills have some really tough calls at several positions to make. That'd be a huge deal. He had one return for 12 today. Like the first punt, he couldn't do anything with because it was kicked to the sideline. And then Hardman took him in the second half. I think he had a 17-yarder. So he's a good punt returner, Hardman. But do you want to keep Mecole Hardman, who's kind of a gadget guy as a receiver and not overly useful, just to return punts? And as you and I have talked about here, punt return just isn't as important anymore because of hang time. And these guys are so good at directional. It's kind of neutered punt returners. Kickoff return is very important. So if Davis can do both of those, I think that would be a huge win for the Bills, for Joe Brady.
Yeah, don't you think that, between what we saw from him last year and kind of what we've seen now, and that they've kind of cast him in that he continues, he continues to make the most of that opportunity. It seems like he's answered the bell, like he's answered that question.
Well, and Brady, I saw Brady's presser on Thursday. I was, I watched because I'm going to keep track. And somebody asked him about Ray Davis, and he said, yeah, he wants that job. Like, he has made it clear to the coaching staff, he wants to try out for that job and he wants to win it. Because let's face it, he doesn't get a lot of playing time behind James Cook. And with Ty Johnson on the team, Johnson gets a lot of the third down offensive plays. So Davis's role as a running back, we saw it last year, really scaled back from his rookie year. So I think he's looking to play, right? He wants to be able to contribute, and return game is a great place for him to do it. So I like that he's taken the initiative on that. And, he's still got to do it. I mean, I don't think he's as good as Hardman. I think Hardman would be a more dangerous guy because he's so fast and shifty, but Ray Davis is pretty good. He's a pretty good athlete. I think he could do it. And like I said, that would be a boon for the Bills, man, to save a roster spot like that.
Where would you look to as far as that roster spot is concerned? I mean,
there's a few places. I mean, the outside linebacker, you got really good players that someone's going to get cut out of that group. That's really good. You could save one there. I don't know about interior D line. Probably not. I think you're okay in that spot. Even wide receiver. If you wanted to keep an extra wide receiver, whether it's Hardman or Pettis, I don't know. Maybe you could do that. I wouldn't do it because that would be kind of, eating your whatever, to spite your face, biting you off your nose to spite your face. If you're going to keep Davis, I think you're freeing up the receiver spot to go somewhere else. But maybe it's O-line. I don't know. But one roster spot is important, right?
Yep.
You keep one extra guy, that's important. Maybe it's the secondary, right? Maybe I still think, Adam, I still think this team is one cornerback short. I just do. I think they need to do a veteran cornerback signing. I really don't trust Max Hairston to be the starter. I certainly don't trust Davison Igbinosun to be a starter as a rookie. One of them probably will be, but are you really feeling good about that position? I know I'm not, for sure. So that's a place where maybe they look to add a body and have an extra cornerback available.
And as I was saying before, now as you look toward that final preseason game, the third one on Thursday night, down the depth chart, whatever that decision is going to be and how the trickle-down effect, if they do cast Davis in that return role and what it opens up for them, a lot of those decisions, that's when the final ones could get. I think there's been a lot that's been decided about this team right now.
Yeah.
But
on the Max Harrison thing, I know he's coming off an injury, but he practiced during the week. He practiced in full in that scrimmage. I don't know why he got the starter treatment in this game. Do you understand that?
No.
Max Hairston has proved nothing. To me, he and Igbinosun are the same as Alec Anderson and Austin Corbett. I think they're battling for a starting job. Now, maybe we're totally misreading this, and maybe they have all the confidence in the world in Max Hairston. I just know personally, I need to see a lot more, and I don't know why he got the starter treatment. He needs reps. He missed half of last season. He missed most of training camp last year. He's missed time in this training camp. Get him on the field, man. This is where you need to see what he can do, and they decided not to do it. A little surprised by that.
I don't know. Do you feel like they've made that decision?
Well, it seems like
my train is pulling into that station. You know what I mean?
Before he got hurt, Adam, he was the starter. There was no doubt. He was taking all the reps. Then he got hurt, so they had to, put Igbinosun. But I certainly didn't see enough in those reps in training camp to think that, oh yeah, he's definitely the starter. I feel like it's still an open competition.
All right. Overshadowing all of this, when it goes from football to the harsh and tragic realities of life, is the fact that the Bills confirmed the death of Ed Oliver's son.
Yeah.
Tragic, an apparent drowning. I know you wrote about it in the Democrat and Chronicle, and more information. Not all the information has come to light at this point. What do we know?
I had heard inklings of this about 2 weeks ago, and as a journalist, you want to break stories, right? But I did not want to touch this story because I didn't know nearly enough about it. I knew that the Buffalo News was pursuing it, and it wasn't a football writer. It was one of their news people that requested information from the police department down there. They were being stonewalled. So I had heard inklings of this, but I just was not going to touch the story because I'm not on it. I'm not in Houston. I'm not asking questions. So I think a lot of us had heard it and just decided to do nothing. And then some dipshit, internet guy thinking he's breaking news or whatever, apparently, figured out what happened. And this is how it all kind of came to light in the last day or so. and the Bills were forced to basically confirm it. What's crazy, Adam, is that Ed Oliver reported to training camp on time and was practicing completely. Nothing seemed amiss. Now, I will admit I didn't talk to Ed at all during training camp, so I'm not even sure if he did a podium. He might have done a podium now that I think about it, but I wasn't there for it. So everything seemed like you would have expected this had actually happened. I think they said it happened June 28th was when the police report was filed. Crazy. And then he wasn't in Cleveland because he had gotten hurt in the game against Carolina and he stayed home. Everyone's thinking, oh my God, it just happened. No, this happened 2 months ago. It just happened that he wasn't in Cleveland. So the Bills had to react today when it kind of started making the rounds, and it's a sad confirmation. I mean, I can't even imagine. I just had a grandson. I can't imagine 2 years later losing that child in a tragic way. So I feel terrible for Ed and his family. I'm not even sure if he's married, Adam. I don't know much about these guys' personal. In his bio in the Bills media guide, it does not even list his children. I think he has a daughter and he had the son. I'm pretty sure about that, but I don't even know if he's married. But anyways, condolences to everyone. Just an awful, awful situation. I hope he can bounce back from it and move on and, just live his life. But you're never going to forget that. That's just horrible.
Yeah, it's a tragedy. Another one of those things that, kind of puts it all in a sad perspective today. All right, Sal. Thank you. Appreciate it. As always, more coverage of this 31-7 win over the Cleveland Browns with Sal on the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. And we'll be back this week with a couple of more editions, one ahead of the preseason finale and one after the preseason finale, as things are fast approaching as we get ready to go for real with this 2026 Buffalo Bills team. So for Sal Maiorana, I am Adam Benigni of Sports Talk Live. Sal, of course, with the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. Super Bowl odds remain fairly the same, with FanDuel presenting sponsor for this show and others on the Believe network of podcasts. Rams, your favorites, plus 500. Bills, second, plus 1,000. Seattle behind them, along with Baltimore at plus 1,200. So from the outside looking in, a lot of optimism with this Bills team. And again, Joe Brady, at least from a leadership standpoint and what you can translate from the preseason, the transition to Brady as a first-time head coach has gone remarkably well. So for Sal, I'm Adam again. Thanks for being with us here. Believe in Bills, presented by FanDuel.